Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we'll be presenting on Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, a novel set during the Great Depression and examining how its themes relate to modern business practices. To begin, let's introduce the book. Of Mice and Men is a novella written by American author John Steinbeck, published in 1937. During the Great Depression, the story revolves around two displaced migrant workers, George Milton and Lenny Small, as they try to achieve their dreams of owning a piece of land in California. The novella explores themes of friendship, loneliness, dreams, and the struggles of disenfranchised. The characters' efforts to escape their harsh realities reflect the social and economic hardships of the era, as well as the human need for connection and hope. The novella is famous for its rich character development and Steinbeck's ability to capture the bleakness of life in America during the 1930s. Of Mice and Men also raises questions about the American dream and the moral complexities of human relationships, making it a significant work in both American literature and the broader literary canon. John Steinbeck, 1902 to 1968, was an American novelist, short story writer, and journalist, best known for his works depicting the struggles of the poor and disenfranchised in America. Born in Salinas, California, Steinbeck was deeply influenced by the region's agricultural life and its working class population, themes that would permeate much of his writing. Steinbeck's most notable works include The Grapes of Wrath, East of Eden, The Pearl, and Of Mice and Men. His writing is marked by empathy for the working class and a deep understanding of human hardship and social injustice. Steinbeck was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1962, largely in recognition of his powerful portrayals of the lives of ordinary Americans facing economic and personal adversity.
Thank you, Shreya. I'm Fauzan, and I'm here to present to you the socio-political context in which the book Of Mice and Men by Joseph Steinbeck is set. The story is set during the era of the Great Depression, where thousands of Americans faced severe economic hardship, and the United States had high rates of unemployment and widespread poverty, and this is the world in which George and Lenny is trying to make a living. George and Lenny here symbolize the workers of that era who travel to find work on farms and ranches, but were in turn paid meager wages and no real job security as such. The characters in this novella reflects the real life experiences of the laborers during the Great Depression, many of whom who worked long hours for minimal pay and no real job security. Another event, another major event. Another major event, if you look into the socio-political context of the book, is the Dust Bowl migration. So the Dust Bowl migration, it was a mass migration of thousands of families, especially in the Midwest, especially from Oklahoma and Texas, towards California in search of work. However, California's promise of opportunities were never really delivered, as it turned into an overcrowded labor where the wages plummeted. So here Steinbeck portrays California as a land of broken dreams, where workers, despite their best efforts, couldn't struggled to rise above their circumstances. Another major theme that we see in the social political context are the class struggles, and Steinbeck paints a vivid picture of the divide between the landowners, represented we can see by the example represented by Curly's father, and the laborers like George and Lenny. And through these characters, Steinbeck critiques a system where the working class is exploited and denied dignity, illustrating the life for those at the bottom of the social hierarchy. We can also see themes of social isolation and prejudices, and we can see that especially from the examples of Crook, who is a black stable hand who is excluded because of his race, and Curly's wife, who faces loneliness in a male-dominated world. We can see that Crooks is excluded in a way because Crooks lives in a separate room and is often ostracized by the people surrounding him, and Curly's wife is often dismissed and misunderstood by the people surrounding her, and is often seen as an object of desire by the men that she is surrounded with. And here Steinbeck highlights how racism and sexism already added to the hardships of the Great Depression, and added layers to the marginalization to an already vulnerable population. We can also see what we call as the American dream. George and Lenny's dream of owning their own farm represents the hope for a better life, a recurring theme for many struggling during the Depression, and that is what we call as the Great American Dream. And this dream is shared by many who migrated to California during the great era of depression. However, the sad, tragic ending of the novella kinds of shows how futile this dream is to the working class, and Steinbeck also uses this as a method to critique the American dream as an illusion that is unattainable for most due to the systemic barriers that is placed in the society. We can also see themes of capitalism and exploitation. We can see that especially from the example of Curly's father, the ranch owner who exploits the laborers for the profits, and he doesn't really care about the workers as such, that he's detached from their struggles, and he sees the workers as something that is disposable. And here Steinbeck critiques the dehumanization and the exploitation of laborers by the capitalist society. He also critiques capitalism as it reduces people to their productive capacity and not for who they actually are. And of the novella of Mice and Men by Joshua Steinbeck clearly reflects the struggles and hardships faced by the people living in the era of the Great Depression, and he also critiques the social and economic prejudices and injustices that was prevalent at that time. Thank you, and that's it from me. Over to you, Harshita.
Now, let's move forward to the plot overview. Of Mice and Men is set during the Great Depression in California and follows the life of two immigrant workers, namely George Milton and Lenny Small, as they travel from job to job in search of a better life. They dream of owning a piece of land or a place where they can live independently, but their dreams are crushed by circumstances that are beyond their control. On the ranch where they work, they meet other workers, which will come to in a while, and each of them have their own struggles. But the novel basically explores the theme of friendship, loneliness, and the harsh realities of life, especially during the Great Depression in America. The story ends tragically when Lenny accidentally kills Curly's wife, and George, knowing that Lenny will be tortured mercilessly by the mob, especially at the hands of Curly, makes the painful decision to end Lenny's life himself to spare him of a more brutal fate. Now let's have a closer look at the main characters, starting with the protagonist, George Milton and Lenny Small. George is a small but intelligent man who is steadfast in his resolve of taking care of Lenny despite the challenges that he faces due to Lenny's disabilities. He has taken the role of a caregiver and protector in their relationship, and although he is a natural leader, he faces his fair share of difficulties in decision making. Lenny Small is a physically strong man but has intellectual disabilities which often renders him unable to understand the consequences of his own actions, which leads to key tragedies in the story. Despite his strength, he is gentle, and his deep love for petting soft things, which again leads to unintended consequences and accidents in the story, like the death of Curly's wife. The relationship basically reflects the theme of loyalty, sacrifice, and difficulties of living in a harsh world. Moving forward, we have other key characters, starting with Curly, who is the ranch's owner's son, and he is aggressive and insecure and tries to assert power through intimidation. He is constantly at Lenny's throat, and his aggressive behavior highlights the theme of power dynamics, power struggle, and insecurity in the story. Then we have Curly's wife, who is the only female character in the novel and one of the most miserable ones, in my opinion, since she's lonely and is often dismissed by the people and men around her. She is not even given a name, which reflects her lack of identity in the male dominated society, and she is also representative of the limited opportunities that women had at the time. Then we have Candy, who is an elderly worker, and he fears being discarded as he grows old since he's already missing a hand, and he's worried that he'll be forced to leave the ranch because he would no longer be useful in the future. And then we have Crooks, who is a black, stable hand who is isolated from other men due to his race. It shows the deep rooted racism in the society at that time. And although he's cynical and bitter, he still longs for companionship, which is reflected in his interactions with Lenny and other people around him. Then there is a Slim, who is the mule driver on the ranch and is often regarded as the most respected and authoritative figure among the workers because, unlike others, he is calm, wise, and understanding, and the sort of a moral compass in the novel since he is often seen offering guidance and insight to other characters. His character is in stark contrast to other characters like Curly, who are very harsh. Slim also understand and it's very sympathetic towards the bond that George and Lenny share and the difficulties that George faced due to his decision regarding Lenny's fate. That's all about the plot overview and the characters. Now I would like to hand it over to Himanshu.
Thank you, Arshita. And now we will try to relate the story of a mice and a man with a real life business case. So every entrepreneur or businessman starts his company with great love and passion for the venture they are building on. A entrepreneur has always has a great aim of establishing an empire in the particular industry which he is entering to. Similar was the case with the George and Lene are two characters in the story of a mice and men who who shared a great bond with each other and also had an ambition or dream of owning a land. A man named Subhash Chandra started his venture in 1992 with name of Z Cinema. He had great love for his business and treated as his own friend. He successfully ran his business till 2010, but after that, the company's market share kept on declining. The decline of market share was particularly because of two reasons. One is a change in consumer preference, and other is increase in competition. But Mr. Subhash Chandra remained dedicated and showed passion uh, towards the company. He remained perseverant. Remained perseverant. He showed perseverance in tough times and tried to revive the market share. But due to heavy losses and a great debt on the company's balance sheet, he had to sell out his company in 2019-20 because in order to protect his company from getting sued by the authorities and money lenders. He also sold out his company to protect the jobs of thousands of employees in the company which otherwise would have lost their job. The similar was the case in the story in which George unwillingly killed his friend uh, Lenny in order to protect him from getting brutally killed from the hands of authorities or uh, Curley because of conducting a hilarious crime of murdering Curley's wife. So this is how we could relate the story of Mice and Men with the a real life business case of Subhash Chandra's venture Z Entertainment. So thank you and over to Vedika now.
Thank you, Himanshu. So, I will be talking about the relevance of this novel and the problems faced in modern businesses. So, in this novel, the struggles of characters like Crooks and Curly's wife reflect issues of isolation, inequality, and discriminations. These are the factors that are still highly relevant in today's business world. Let's delve into some of the points. The first point that I will be discussing is workplace inclusivity and diversity. Many companies still face challenges in fostering inclusive environments where all employees feel equally valued, regardless of their race, gender, or their social background. In the novel, Crook's isolated because of his race, and Curly's wife marginalized as the only woman, and she also experienced exclusion. Today, businesses are working to improve inclusivity and create diverse or welcoming environment for all the employees. The companies like Microsoft and Google are actively promoting diversity and inclusivity by implementing training programs, diverse hiring practices, and creating safe spaces for all the employees. The second point is employees' well being and mental health. Companies are increasingly focusing on the mental health of their employees, offering them support programs to combat their stress and burnout among the employees. The isolation felt by Crook's and Curly's wife mirrors how loneliness and mental health struggles can negatively affect employees in today's workplace. Companies like Salesforce and Google prioritize mental health by offering wellness programs, and they even counsel the employees if needed. The third point that I will discuss is economic inequality and fair pay. The wage gap between the lower level workers and the executives like CEOs, directors, becomes an issue because the workers that are on the lower level face an economic instability, financial instability. So, in the novel, like Candy and Lenny, who dream of a better life but struggles to achieve it, many employees in today's world face similar barriers to financial independence and the economic mobility, which should be in the upward direction. In the real life scenario, Amazon has raised its minimum wages to $15 per hour take cons- uh, to consider the uh, economic welfare or financial stability of their employees. The fourth point is ethical leadership and corporate responsibility. Leaders face tough ethical decisions about prioritizing uh, whether they should prioritize profits or protecting employees during financial crisis. So, George's difficult decision to end Lenny's life reflects the tough choices leader must sometimes make to protect their employees' well-being. So, if we will take the example of the situation during the COVID-19 pandemic, almost all the companies were laying off their employees, and as they were not really economically fostering their company or making profits, the company Costco made the decision to keep their employees employed while others were laying off the employees, and this demonstrates a commitment to ethical leadership. So, in conclusion, the novel of Mice and Men, we see issues like isolation, inequality, and leadership. These dilemmas, these issues are relevant in today's businesses. So, by addressing the workplace inclusivity, employees' well being, fair pay, and ethical leadership, companies can build strong and more supportive work environment in their organization, and this will really help them to achieve their goals in their organization. Thank you.